everyone. Welcome to another UTA Planetarium live stream. My name is Levent Gürdemir, UTA Astronomer and Planetarium Director. And here is in the studio, Jim Bader, Planetarium Program Coordinator with me. And on this great Wednesday, we'll talk about some space news and also we will answer your questions. Yesterday, hi Jim.
All of your questions.
Yesterday, there was a news dominating the entire media, and that was the space tourism and some people going into space. There is not much contribution to science about this, but certainly they are just scratching the surface of a new type of tourism, some possibilities going into space. I mean, the going into space, I think this term will be revisited and maybe defined, clarified in better ways, because when we say we are going space, we are actually just going very high elevation on the surface of Earth. And where do we draw the lines as a space? It is not really determined. As we go up, the air gets thinner and thinner, and then after some certain point, we cannot breathe. We started seeing the stars, so the gas surrounding us no longer dominating the blue color. So, but again, I mean, this is the very loose term for space.
Yep. The idea of there being an actual point or spot as you move up that makes it space seems a little silly.
Absolutely. And after all, we do space travel in the planetarium at much lower cost. When we open the planetarium for public, you can just feel free visit. You don't have to wait for perfect weather conditions and nothing. And just for the one admission ticket cost, you can go to space, look at Earth, visit different planets, and
yeah, no training.
We are cheaper.
You don't need training either. We just let you walk right in, get strapped into a seat. You're good to go.
But there was another and more important thing yesterday. Yesterday was July 20, which was anniversary of moon landing.
Yeah.
Apollo 11.
52 years. 52 years.
Yes, 52 years ago. Imagine 52 years ago. They sent people to the moon, and that was a challenging mission. And that challenge was accomplished successfully. People visited the moon, the astronauts visited the moon and returned to Earth safely. And why we are not sending astronauts today to other planets? Because now robots can do everything and actually more than what astronauts can do. So nobody thinks about sending astronauts to different celestial objects anymore, because it is associated with high risk and also the human body limitations. Plus, you have to bring them back. That's another, I think, the multiplies the complexity of the mission by a lot. Back then, the most challenging thing, and we can just elaborate more on that. The lunar missions, the moon missions, were pretty much actually a show off, or just a proof to the proof that that engineering and technology, and in case there is a war on the horizon, it's just showing the capabilities, what they can do. Today the situation is different. We only have in the mind explore and find new things, and the robotic missions are doing those pretty good. All right, so here are some of our followers. Hi Janet, good afternoon to you too. And Lamia is also here. It was interesting yesterday. Yes, it was. And they mentioned that they did not go up high enough and look down Earth. I don't know how high they went, but again, this
Think they
can be
went
controversial.
60, 68-ish miles
Uh-huh.
straight up.
Yeah,
It's high. No doubt about that. I don't know how much they saw. They didn't show a lot of images of them looking out the window, and honestly, all the clips I saw of them inside of the capsule,
hmm
they were just flipping and enjoying weightlessness. They
hmm
didn't spend what I imagine I would do, which would be just glued to a window. They were just playing around in weightlessness, which they went
but
quite a bit higher than the Virgin Galactic folks. I don't know. It seemed when I watched that, I remember thinking like, what are they doing? They're playing with ping pong balls.
well, the
Yeah,
weightlessness can be also simulated with the NASA's Vomit Comet airplane.
yeah. There's a bunch of
You
those.
don't have to go really high to experience weightlessness. Um, but I don't know. Maybe the challenge should be like, for example, when you go to Houston, NASA Houston Space Center, you go on a like a tourist section of the control center, and you are behind a window looking at the actual working people. Maybe they can construct something like this in the International Space Station. They put tourists from one door. They can only like look people behind window and just come out from the other one and go back to Earth.
I actually love that idea a little bit of having just a live feed from like the cupola, so they can see. That would be neat. I mean,
And you don't have to just put a dedicated shuttle for that when there's a space shuttle that needs to go for any reason. Just take a few more people on board, and just ticket price would be millions of dollars, of
well,
course.
space tourism is here for sure. We have a lot of cool space tourism stuff to cover. We have the launch stuff we're going to cover. We have some other stuff surrounding the launch we have to cover. I get to make an apology. That's going to be fun. Um, but before we get to that, I want to, Levent, do some housekeeping. Is that okay? Because we've
Yes.
been skipping a bunch of stuff.
First, Janet says saw moon landing on TV. Don't say that because
What?
Janet says
Oh,
saw the moon landing on TV. I have not. Unfortunately, I'm
what?
not old enough
Yeah, what a spectacular thing to have
to
witnessed.
to be to be there. But yeah, I mean that was amazing. Rewatching it, of course.
All right, we didn't get into this last time,
Should
Levent.
I just
Um,
scoot over a little bit?
Sure, it's not too
Yes.
important. We didn't get to get into this. You can guess what we're looking at here, but we brushed on it. So this is us updating everyone on the James Webb Space Telescope launch. Um, as Levent said before, there was tons of hiccups for the last 15 years on when they're going to launch it, if they're going to launch it, so on and so forth. We've gone over that so many times, but let's just get to the meat of this update. The main update has to do with the rocket itself. So it was going to be launched on the Ariane rockets. And Ariane, I don't know if you remember this, but it's been about a year now. Ariane rockets were grounded because they launched something and the fairing didn't separate. So everything that they launched was wasted. And James Webb is going to get launched on this rocket. And they're like, hey, I don't know if we're going to do this. Because if we have, like you mentioned, 20 years of delay and then it goes to space and stops, how mad people are going to be. So, good news is that Ariane has officially announced that they have solved all of their problems and the rocket is cleared to go. Only thing that's going to stop them now is other delayed launches due to weather or things along that line.
As
So,
I always say, before I see this on the launch pad, I will not believe it because it's the past 15 years. They are saying the same thing.
yeah.
Launch date is set for such and such date, and then just getting close to that date, they say, well, we have to cancel the mission because reason.
Yep. Here's the rocket it gets to launch on. This is the
Uh-huh.
Area, and it will look the same setup as this. This is maybe not its biggest setup, but very. Here's that image we saw last week of Hubble. It's just looking enormous. Um, or of James Webb. And then the next thing that I want to jump into, Levent, is what is this? Hubble. I accidentally
Did they?
popped that one up. It's back online. It's running.
Okay, I was
That's
wondering if they put additional camera on it
no. I think this is from
from the
one of
space station.
yeah one of the repair missions
Hmm.
on it. Not space station, but one
Hmm.
of the shuttle
Oh,
missions that
shuttle
went up
from
to
the
work
shuttle.
on
Yeah,
it.
must be the shuttle.
We have another one. I love this image. This is like
Oh yeah, this is classic. This is
yeah. This is crazy looking. And I don't know if everybody's aware, but in June, the Hubble telescope actually went down. And by that, I mean, like, it failed. It wasn't turning correctly. It wasn't taking images properly. They didn't know what was going on, and they shut it down. So June 13th, there was, it felt like complete failure of Hubble Space Telescope. People were pretty nervous. Even Elon Musk, I don't know if he was tweeting or in an interview, said, I could send one of my Dragon capsules up there to repair it. A lot of people scoffed at that because of how difficult it is to get to the Hubble Space Telescope. It was designed with the space shuttle in mind, that there would be an arm to grab it and to work on it. So, anyway,
yeah.
good
I mean,
news.
the challenge is you cannot just simply get close like getting a docking a boat is not a good example for that. You cannot just jump on it to repair something because every change in the configuration, including weight, it does an effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I go and sit on this Hubble Space Telescope, so I change its orbit and speed. Uh,
But everything, I mean, every step that you make, every time you turn has an effect on it.
yeah,
Everything.
yeah. For that reason, the space shuttle arm goes, grabs, and puts the telescope and shuttle on a stable orbit, and it just with the maneuvers and everything, and after the repairs are done, take it back to the exact same orbit and just leave it there and make sure everything is okay, because these things don't have their own maneuvering capabilities. If you
A
just
little tiny bit.
I mean, leave it alone and maybe just put it in the wrong orbit, it may just drift away or get back close to Earth and eventually fall.
Yeah, yeah, it could definitely be bad. Anyway, stuff failed, and now this is something I learned. Hubble Space Telescope was launched up there with backup all kinds of stuff. So
Hmm.
they had to put everything on backup. So it's on backup power supply. It's on backup. They call it command unit, and backup other various components. All right, we're back. Uh, all right. So we ran into some technical difficulties, you guys. Thank you for being patient.
Yeah, all of
Uh,
a sudden, stream just went away. I
we
don't know what happened.
we've definitely been experiencing some issues with the internet here on
Yeah,
campus.
it has been going since the morning.
Yeah. And that's my only guess. So we just restarted everything. Thank you, Janet, for bringing that to my attention.
Yes.
Hopefully, we can get going until we get through most of our content, but
Uh-huh.
we will. Yeah, we are definitely working on it. Anyway,
Okay, great.
we have some comments. Let me ask
Yeah,
yeah, it was interrupted.
Hubble is a great tool
Tool.
for science and astronomy. Most important thing about Hubble, and I remember the days the Hubble was going to launch, and the scientists were after the funding. The funding was secured by NASA, but still there was a big discussion in the Congress, and the discussion was about they were pretty much saying while we have a lot of telescopes on the ground and you can build even larger ones with the fraction of the cost, why do we need telescope in space? We understood the justification for that after the Hubble is operational, because the thing was the new perspective that Hubble brought us was what's actually out there that we didn't see. If Jim can help me with the maybe the famous ultra deep field picture. This was the first time we seen, because okay, they put the Hubble Space Telescope in space and they looked at the planets of our solar system, and of course, as expected, the we seen the planets in a better clarity. Um, but what wasn't seen before, then we looked into the deep space. And when we say deep space, it is actually an area in the sky that we do not see anything. Like we call it deep space. And the Hubble turned the camera to a deep space and then took a picture similar to this. There were several pictures similar to that. But why it is important is in a small frame, small camera area, there's a lot of light. And those are not stars, those are galaxies. So Hubble gave us the idea of number of galaxies. Actually, the universe, or just in all direction, we are surrounded by galaxies, billions of galaxies. Before Hubble, we couldn't tell there are billions of galaxies in space. We were able to spot maybe up to 100 galaxies with telescopes, but that was it. So Hubble gave us a really, really different idea about the universe we live in.
Can only hope that we get similar results out of the James Webb when it finally goes up. Anyway,
Lamia says, why there are no new similar projects like Hubble? James Webb Telescope is actually the successor of Hubble. It had been in space for a long, long time, 20 years ago. It should have been in space, but because of technical reasons and funding reasons, with a lot of, and lastly, the Corona, COVID reasons, it wasn't put in space. But James Webb Space Telescope is still, by design, it is much larger telescope, more advanced telescope, and Hubble Space Telescope is actually hovering around Earth's orbit. It is not far away, so Space Shuttle, for example, can go grab and fix it. But James Webb Space Telescope will be a lot farther away. It will exceed the Earth-Moon distance 3 times.
Yep.
It will not be accessible. You cannot fix it if anything goes wrong. But it will be far away from Earth. That means it will have better opportunity, better access to space, and will conduct better observations.
Definitely, really excited to see it happen. For those of you who were watching right before we disconnected, we were talking about this picture behind Levent. This is a picture of Halo, the habitation and logistics outpost, which NASA wants to put as the lunar orbiter. It's going to be the spacecraft that NASA astronauts get to use when they orbit the moon using the new Orion spacecraft. So it's pretty exciting. I'm excited about it, that's for sure. But what's so exciting, and the reason that it's news, is that NASA's Lunar Gateway program got accepted. So it finalized the contract with Northrop Grumman, which is why you can see the logo there. Looks like Richard is leaving the stream, but we will definitely see you next week, Richard.
One of our physics graduates work at that company, and he was a planetarium educator for a long time.
This is exciting though, because they're going to be developing the space station. They got the first chunk of their check, so they get to start on this, and I am certainly excited to see this move forward. This is the future of space stuff, so it'll be really interesting to see it come together. The spacecraft is just essentially the Cygnus spacecraft that's made by Northrop Grumman, but it's extended, so they're going to have a nice big space station there. I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to get launched on a Falcon Heavy event. SpaceX has actually pushed its way in. It seems to be close to an equal with United Launch Alliance now. I don't know. Pretty neat. Okay. It's time to move on to what we've all been waiting for.
Okay, now we are talking about Blue Origin.
Yes, this is my favorite picture from the whole event.
Hmm.
Um, do you know who that is, Levent?
Yes, Wally.
That's Wally Funk. So this is where I get to make a quick apology. And
Yes, you need to do that.
yeah, yeah. In previous streams when we talked about it, I saw the name Wally Funk. I didn't know who Wally Funk was. And I at least once, I didn't watch every moment of it, but at least once I referred to Wally as a male, and Wally is not a male. That was very not okay for me to do. But Wally Funk is an iconic, a legendary, iconic American aviator, and in fact, a female, a pioneer in her field, and somebody we will go through all of her lists to talk about in just a moment. But before we do that, let's see some really cool images. So we got this image, which is Wally after they landed. She has gone over to the rocket that took her to space and stared at it. Wally is somebody who should have been in space 60 years ago, honestly, and didn't because NASA was a boys' club and they didn't want women being a part of it. And that is legitimately why she didn't go to space, undeniably, unfortunately. Um, but here is one of my favorite moments. We have to rush back real quick. From the whole ordeal, to me, watching Wally go to space and and pursuing a dream like that, Levent, it had to feel good, right? I mean, I can only imagine that felt really good for her after all those years. Anyway, let's get this image up so you guys can see this. This is legendary for me. Watching this. Oh, I got to get rid of myself here. This is Wally when they landed. This is so perfect. She seems like she has so much energy. It's unbelievable. Um, just unbelievable. Yeah, she was really inspiring, Lamia.
Yeah.
Definitely a choke up moment for me, for sure. Here's a picture of the launch itself. The launch of the New Shepard went perfect, picture perfect, everything about it. No issues, went straight up, came back down. Rocket landed itself like SpaceX on the pad, which we just saw Wally standing on, and all the astronauts had no issues. So
Well, still,
successful.
this is an exciting story, but the launch itself doesn't excite me as much as a Saturn V,
No, not
or
even on the same level.
because I mean this is not something trying new. This has been done
Yeah.
for more than 50 years. Now the commercial companies are just making a cheaper flights
Mm-hmm.
to the space. But back in then, like Saturn V, for example, a lot of things can go wrong because that was the first attempt to go into space that far.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the machine was very old.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was complicated
Yeah,
and never been done before when those happened.
yeah.
Also, the thing that's a little bit lackluster for me in the terms of these launches that we've had this month,
Hmm.
there's no science, right? It's just for fun, and this launch was special to me because of Wally,
Uh-huh.
because of all the stuff that she done and all the things that she pioneered and all the
Hmm.
stuff that was taken away from her.
Yeah.
Getting to see her go to space was awesome.
I think that we can summarize it as like the most interesting part of this story is that the people on board. not
Wally
not the
specifically.
mission itself, and
Agreed.
particularly Wally, yes. Because the mission is just, again, I mean, this is like you go into the orbit and come back. This is 60 years old thing, and that's why
Yep.
I like when missions are just furthering the frontier and pushing the limits, or just going into the limits that was never done before. Because I have a presentation. I say what NASA has done for you so far. Every time something is tried to as a new beyond the limit or never been tried before, this requires you know making things, or this brings some needs, and addressing those needs improve the technology and all the, like, for example, wireless communication technology we just use every day today.
Yeah.
Wireless communication technology, the most important patents were actually gathered during the lunar missions of NASA. Why? Because that was the only way to communicate with a spacecraft drifting away from you into space.
Yeah.
Wireless communication. You didn't need maybe on the ground that much. You could just use a long cable, but you cannot just use a long cable for spacecraft. That was just one of the things.
There's so much about it.
I can
For
name
sure.
at least 20 things, including power tools, battery operated tools.
Yeah.
Was actually first invented for spacecraft repairs.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. A few things else that I got wrong, by the way. We joked, Levent and I did, about me saying that someone paid $28 million for the seat. It was an auction for $28 million, and according to Jeff Bezos, all of that $28 million is going to charities to support women in STEM, and minorities in STEM, women in STEM, and other science and technology charities that will benefit us in a positive way. So still $28 million is crazy, especially for a seat that the guy decided at the last minute he didn't want and swapped out and put in the 18-year-old in there. 18-year-old Dutch for a guy got to take the seat at the last minute. I mean,
so
it's like within 72 hours.
Our admission cost is $7, and we have discounts for seniors and students. We can put you in a very comfortable planetarium chair and fly you in space. Just go around Earth, maybe go to the moon, and on the way back, maybe we can just take a peek to Jupiter, Saturn. Go through the Saturn's rings, by the way. It's very cool. And it's all for $7. It's incredibly cheap.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, the important parts of this mission is that Wally Funk, 82 years old, pushes John Glenn out of his title of oldest person in space. He is no longer a record holder, so we can just move him out of the way. And we have now a real American hero in that title, Wally Funk, 82 years of age. She went into space, came back down from space, and leaped out with the energy of an 18-year-old. If you watch the actual 18-year-old come out, it is quite funny for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and show you guys this image in full entirety, and we have one more image to show you here that I want to bring up of Wally, but I got to move out of the way. This is Wally in 96. This is Wally Funk in 1996, getting to watch shuttle missions launch. And this is not too far from Eileen Collins, who was the first woman to pilot an actual mission. It took until the 90s before NASA put in place a woman to be in charge of a mission to fly a plane. They could only ride in the backseat. So this was pretty exciting. Either way. Now, without further ado, we do need to end the stream. We have had some power technical difficulties, so I'm not sure what all is going on. But we will definitely be back next Wednesday, and we will have all of these issues wrapped up and repaired. So thank you guys so much for watching this stream, and we will see you all next week.